All right. So, today's presentation might be a bit shorter than the full hour because this presentation is kind of straightforward, but of course, if you have questions, you can always unmute yourself or say in the chat that you have a question. Either way is fine. So this month is cybersecurity month. So we are going to do just some topics that kind of all relate to security, protecting your phone and things like that. And the first topic of this month will be on understanding QR codes. And next week we'll go over digital payments and then we'll do fraud protection. But today we're going to discuss QR codes specifically for, of course, your iPhone and your Android devices. Sometimes, you may see QR codes on the computer or the TV, right? But you do need your phone to do that. Technically, it could also work with an iPad or tablet. So if you have any of those devices, then you can use that to follow along as well. So QR code, right, essentially stands for quick response. And it's essentially a barcode that can be scanned with your smartphone to access information. So anytime we kind of see these type of QR codes out in the public, I've seen them now on TV commercials, flyers, things like that, right? It's a way to access something faster than typing it online, right? Instead of going to Amazon and typing www.amazon.com, right? And then looking for that specific item that you may want or product, QR codes will essentially send you exactly to the place that they're trying to advertise, sell you, buy, whatever it may be. A QR code will lead you to the exact place on the website. So it's faster than you having to type it on the computer, then trying to find that on the website and so on. That is why QR codes exist. And most of the time, right, QR codes are going to be found on restaurant menus, product packaging, websites, flyers, and now mostly event tickets, right? Maybe you've been to a Broadway show recently or a sports game, a concert, and so on. You may notice that more and more things are through QR codes, like when they scan your ticket. Even let's say if you take the Metro North, if you live in New York, and you buy your ticket online, the conductor looks at your QR code. So all of these things that we would normally do through paper, right, are being converted to QR codes. And most of the time, right, it is being converted to QR codes because of one, the convenience, right? More and more people they have a smartphone now. So if more people are having a smartphone or iPad or tablet, the public believes, it will be easier for a person to find that faster. Um, QR codes also became, popular also during the pandemic because, for example, many people didn't want to touch the menus at restaurants. So restaurants decided, well, we'll convert our menus to QR codes. So, uh, infections won't pass easily. Instead, people are just touching their phones. And then I guess it's stuck with some restaurants, and you may still see now one of your favorite restaurants will have a QR code to scan. So how does QR codes work, right? It's very simple. There are even free websites where you can make your own QR code as well. But essentially, a QR code is the data, right? Data essentially like a website. So anybody can go online and you can type in QR code generator, and you can essentially tell that website, that QR code generator website, what you want to have in your QR code. So when someone scans it and they open it up, it leads them to a specific place. Most of the time, right, it is to a website to advertise a specific event, a shopping link to buy something, or a restaurant menu, right? We scan the QR code and it opens right to the dinner menu, the lunch menu. But you could put anything in a QR code. You can open it up and it can lead to an image. And in some cases, right, it could lead to a virus. So later in the presentation, we'll talk about how not all QR codes are safe, and you shouldn't just be scanning anything that you see outside. But essentially, right, when we do scan this QR code, the smartphone is going to read that data and take you to the place of that information, whether it's a good website or it could be a virus, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So,
All right. Did you ask a question?
yes, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Is the code itself electronic?
Uh, yeah, to create it is electronically. You do need to have a computer or smartphone to create it.
Well, let's say you have something with a QR code on it. Is it giving off electricity? Does the code itself?
No,
Okay.
everything is going through like how your phone would send a text message to somebody, or when you search for something, it works that type of way.
Like,
Nothing with electricity
oh,
though.
because like I sorry, I have aphasia, so my talking sometimes is choppy. Sorry. I, for example, I had a return for Amazon, and instead of a return label, they sent me the QR code to print. So I'm
Right,
wondering, I was like, there's just this design on a piece of paper, right? That's the QR code. It was just it looks like a design, right? It's like a
right.
square with a design
Yes.
inside. Somehow that, when the phone or something scans it, so there's no electricity or anything coming off that code itself. It's somehow just
No
taking a picture of
electricity.
it.
It's just, yeah, that design is essentially a code that the phone can read to lead you somewhere else. So think of it like a like Braille, like it's just another type of form of language, that design that only the
But with
phone can read.
Braille, you're using touch. Touch
Right.
is how you're
Well,
communicating.
yeah.
So in this way, I'm wondering how's the phone actually communicating with that piece of paper to get that data? Do you know?
So
Or is it just a
our smartphone,
mystery?
right, right. Our smartphones can read that type of code that our computers generate. Don't know like the specifics or the technology behind it, but our phones are smart enough to kind of read that type of
But there's
language.
no danger, no electricity coming off that code itself.
No,
Okay,
no.
thank
Okay, so the next thing I do want to talk about is do I need to download an app? Because many times when I meet with members at the center, I do see that, they have a specific QR code app, right? But in many cases, especially for iPhones and updated Android phones, most phones have the capability to scan QR codes using your camera. And downloading a QR code app can be unnecessary in most cases. If, for example, you do not have an iPhone that's updated or an Android that's updated. What do I mean by updated? If your phone, you got it in the last 5 years, I'm 100% sure that you can use your camera to scan a QR code. You do not need to have a separate app downloaded on your phone, right? A QR code app, like the same way you would download Zoom on your phone, WhatsApp on your phone. You most likely would not need to download a QR code app. Many times, these apps are filled with advertisements. So when you scan a QR code, it probably will take you to an advertisement first before even showing you the website. And in other cases, right, if you are someone that has a smartphone that has limited storage and you need to save storage, um, getting a QR code app is only going to limit your storage. But I do have some recommendations of QR code apps in the next few slides in cases where you do have an Android that's a bit older and um, it does not work to use your camera to scan it. But we'll talk about that shortly. But in the next slide, we'll look at a picture or example of basically how to scan a QR code using our camera, right? Without using any app or anything. So with an iPhone, and then I'm gonna show you a video with Android. So just be patient, the Android folks. I have you next. But with an iPhone, if you go to your settings, which is that gear silver icon on your phone, it's on everyone's iPhone or iPad. If you go to settings and go to camera, there will be a section in camera that says scan QR codes. And it's a toggle that you could turn on and off, which basically gives your camera the capability to scan QR codes. So you do not have to worry about downloading an extra app. So gray means off, right? White means off, sorry. But if you just tap on it, you'll flip it and it'll turn to green, which means on. Some phones, right, already keep it on automatically, but let's say you were having difficulty scanning QR codes in the past, it could be that possibly you had it off in your iPhone settings or iPad settings. And I know that many phones have updated, so you may need to, you know, scroll slowly to find it. There may be a lot of things in your camera settings because everybody has a different iPhone here today. That is the 13, the 14, the 15. You may have a 10. So just take your time trying to find this in your settings. And I'm gonna give you guys a moment to see if you find it. And if anybody has questions, you can let me know. So once again, we're going to the iPhone settings. We're gonna scroll until we find camera. And in the camera, we're gonna look for scan QR codes. Not the camera app, but in settings, the camera section. If nobody has a question on that, I will go to the next slide. Okay. So hopefully those that had iPhones found it, and then we'll talk about Androids right after this slide. So that's good. If we all found it, that means our phone has the capability to scan it. If you didn't find it in your settings, I have apps that I recommend that you can download, but I'm pretty sure most iPhones, if you have a 10 and above, will be able to do this. So scanning a QR code is very easy. It just takes a bit of a practice. So, um, well, unfortunately, I do not have a QR code for you guys to scan, but I'm gonna leave you with these tips for the next time you see it on a television or on a flyer, or when you go to a restaurant, or you have to print your label from Amazon. There's so many ways you'll see a QR code. So the first thing is you do open your camera app, and you want to make sure you point the camera above the QR code. So I see many people do it slanted, or they turn their phone around and, make it horizontal and all that. But just you could stand up, point it on the top of the QR code, and you just hold over it. And sometimes right away, when you hover over the QR code and your camera's pointing at it, right away, a yellow button will appear at the bottom, which I'm going to highlight. That yellow button is basically the link that is the QR code that's going to lead you to the menu, to the restaurant, to your Amazon label, whatever it may be, concert tickets. Um, some phones, the yellow button appears right away when you hover your phone over it. But in some cases, it may not do it right away. So what you can also do is tap on the QR code with your finger. So you'll hover over your phone, over on top of the QR code, and then you just tap on the screen where you see the QR code, and that will also trigger the phone for the link to appear as well at the bottom. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So you just hit the yellow thing.
Yes, once you hit the yellow button, it will open up to the restaurant menu or to the website, whatever it may be.
Good.
The only thing is, right, it is gonna take practice. May not happen right away, but trust me, it's not you, it's the phone. You have to get used to using it, but it does work. Especially if you went into settings and you turned it on, it will work for you.
And you leave it on, right? You leave it on.
You should leave it on, right? QR codes are going to keep appearing in our lifetime. So there's no point in turning it off. It's not wasting battery, it's not taking storage. It's just another feature that you want to keep on your phone so you have it for next time.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from iPhone users? Okay, so I'm just going to
I'm
show you this
sorry.
video. Yes, go ahead.
Thanks. Does this also work for iPad?
It can also work for iPad, depending on the type of model that you have. If you do have an older one, I don't know the exact generation, but you do want to go to the settings that I gave you, which is go to the settings, camera, and look for and see if they have the scan QR codes, and then yes, it will work for the iPad.
Okay, thanks.
So, those that have an Android, right? I'm gonna show you guys a video of how a person that has an Android phone scans their QR code only because I don't have a Android phone. So I think the best way to show you guys is if you see in person live, I mean in live, how a Android user does it. And this is gonna he's gonna show it on Android phones, but of course, if your phone is a bit older or it's another model, I'm gonna show you apps as well that you can download that are safe to scan QR codes.
Gadgets Android tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to scan a QR code with your Android phone, and I'll be showing you both on a Google Pixel and a Samsung. So it's a little bit different, but it's actually really easy to scan QR codes with your Android phone. All right, so to get started, we'll start out on my Samsung. The first thing we need to do is open the camera on our Samsung phone, and up in the top left, you see a little gear for the camera settings. Select that. And right near the top under intelligence features, you'll see scan QR code. So now all we need to do is go back to the camera, find the QR code, and then when we hover it, it'll bring up and scan the QR code where then we can show options. And this will allow us to open the QR code. And as you can see, that's just to my website. Now on a Google.
So I just want to pause that and just go back because he was talking a bit fast. But as you can see, what he did with Android phones is at the top left-hand corner, he clicked on settings on his camera app. And in the settings, there was a section that said scan QR codes, and he turned it on. And he made sure it was on before he decided to, scan the QR code. So if you do have an Android phone, please make sure that you go to your camera app, you find the settings button at the top, and you want to make sure that you have scan QR codes turned on. Okay, let's continue the video.
It'll bring up and scan the QR code where then we can show options. And this will allow us to open the QR code. And as you can see, that's just to my website. Now on a Google Pixel or something similar to that, we need to again open up the camera. Once the camera is open, select the little arrow to open the menu. And once the menu opens, select the gear right here. Now, what we're looking for in the settings, rather than QR code, we're going to look for Google Lens suggestions. So as you can see there, that says scan QR codes. Turn that on. Now we can go back to the camera and we can see the QR code right there. It's going to bring up the web address. We select it, and then it's going to ask us how we want to open that. And you just select whatever browser you want, and that will open up that QR code. All right.
Okay, so the second example were phones that are not Android specific. So maybe someone here today has a Google Pixel phone. They're not that popular, but they are coming out. So I don't know if anyone has that, but also what he did was he went into his camera. There was a little arrow at the top of the screen that he clicked on, which brought down a menu where he went into his settings. And for Google phones, right, it's not going to say scan QR codes. Instead, it's going to say Google Lens. Google Lens is going to be the app or the setting that you want to turn on so you can scan QR codes. Anybody that has an Android have a question on that?
I do.
Yes.
I know this is going to be unbelievable, but I've actually never done any of this. I don't know what to do. Mine is on, but then what do you do? I don't know what to actually do to to take the scan of the code. You just hold the camera up in front of it?
Right. So, you say you have it on, right?
Sorry. Yes, it's on.
Okay. So, right. I don't have a QR code for today, but if you do in the future, right?
Yeah.
You hover your phone over the QR code and at the bottom will show the link. It'll say whatever.com, and you just tap on it, and it'll give you either way. This is what happened. It'll say either, are you sure you want to open it with Google, or it will just open it up automatically for you. But there's
Sorry.
What happened?
I was going to say, after you read it or do whatever you want to do with it, is it on the phone forever or it's gone when you close it?
That's a good question. So once you open up a QR code, it's going to open up on your phone the same way you read an article online. So you have to be the one to close it, delete it, or yes, it will just stay there as a tab on your phone.
Okay.
So the same way you read like a news article or you open up something that your friend sent you, right? It'll stay in your Google tabs. So you
Yes.
have to make sure to delete it on your
Oh,
own.
excellent. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay, let's say for some other people, I'm just gonna give you some apps. Let's say, I don't know, it didn't work for you, or you have a friend that has an older phone, right? These are just some apps I suggest that they can download that is not going to have advertisements. So we have QR and barcode scanner. It looks like this. This is for Android and iPhone, but once again, most iPhones and Androids, right, should have it built in already. But in cases where you don't, you can go ahead and get this. Not only is this a QR code scanner, but it's also a barcode scanner. So like scanning like food products and stuff. It might give you information about the food and so on. So it's like a two-in-one thing. Another app that I also recommend that is, you know, completely a bit has QR code, but it has other things. It's called Google Lens. Google Lens you can also get on an iPhone, and this actually might be something that you may be interested in having. Not only does this scan QR codes, but it can help you translate text into another language. So if you were abroad, you needed to read signs, you point your phone at the sign and it will translate it to the language that you want. It's getting really powerful now, especially with AI. So you could actually point your phone to a plant or an animal, and it will tell you what that animal or plant is. You can point it at an article of clothing, and it'll give you suggestions of wear those pants or wear those similar type of clothing like a pants or so on. I'll give you like websites like Levi's or whatever, Macy's, of places where you could buy pants that look similar. So if you are interested in using that or that sounds interesting to you, right? It's called Google Lens. It's free to use. And it does all of that in one. And it doesn't matter if you have an iPhone or an Android, you can download it and use it. Anybody have questions on that?
So yes, there's the top one and the second one and the third one. There's three of them on this picture.
What do you mean?
Like what's the more by Google LLC like?
This is the app. I'm gonna put a circle.
Okay. And the
That's
other
what it
two?
looks like. No, this is like an advertisement.
Okay.
I put an X.
Thank you.
The app, yeah, don't pay attention to that at the bottom. That's just like it was recommending other apps. The app that you want is the one at the top. That's like a camera button in different colors. Any other questions
Like
on that from anyone?
phone explodes from so many apps.
I mean, your phone could explode if you push it and you keep downloading, and you have no more storage. Not explode literally, but it'll stop working.
Yeah. Does it tell you like it's going to explode?
Your phone will tell you you don't have any more storage. It'll literally say it cannot download the app because you have no
Okay.
more storage.
Okay.
That happened to me
Yeah.
before.
Yes.
Because I had taken too many videos.
Yeah, the same thing. It'll say you cannot take a
And it
picture.
wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there wasn't enough to take it off because you need space also to I guess transfer it. I had really made a mess.
Right. If you get a message like that, you have to delete like multiple things, not just a few photos. You got to do like 20, 30 videos and so on.
Right. So I learned the hard way. That was a couple of years ago. I have a question. It might be a little too technical.
Yes.
Whoops.
Yeah. Are you still there?
Too technical.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you take a picture, if you can just take a picture of your pants and it can link it to something, ki- don't you, is there a privacy issue where that means like it can really, the phone is now able to pick up on your voice or your just always see where you are? Do you know what I mean?
Um, well, that app was specifically made where, so like let's say you point the Google Lens app to your pants, it's not going to really know where that pants is from. It'll just give you suggestions of like brown pants from Macy's, brown pants from whatever. Like it
But
can't know.
it's able to tell that it's brown pants.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's because of the AI features now in apps. Um,
But I mean, is it always on? So like if you're with someone, then they see the picture of the friend
um,
or
well,
I'm
the
just wondering about
features
the
are always
privacy of all this stuff. If it's
right.
always on looking and listening to you.
Well, I would say, using the Google Lens app, essentially, yes, it is. That's what the app was made for. It is looking for things to scan to give you feedback. I don't know, essentially, I don't think it's using your voice in any way. I know it is using your camera, but the camera only turns on when you use the app. It's not going to just be scanning things when you're not using it. Oops.
Okay. So like with the QR code, we can leave on all the time, but this one maybe not if you care
Yeah,
about.
I just gave you that as a suggestion, as
Yeah.
another app in case you were curious and
No,
there's
it
other
just,
things that it can do.
because I didn't grow up with this stuff. So,
Right,
I think
right.
the older generation can have more questions than the newer,
Right.
because the new people don't see this is cool, but me and some of my older friends
And
too.
and you have
Wonder.
good questions,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you.
So just some other tips for scanning, right? You do want to make sure that you're keeping your phone steady and that your phone is focused. So if your camera's dirty or blurry, you may want to clean it first before you scan a QR code. That will, change what happens with your phone. It may not scan it if your camera's cracked or something, right? It may not work. Also, lighting matters. So if you're trying to scan a QR code in a dark restaurant, it's probably not going to scan it. You may need to turn on your flashlight and then scan it or take it somewhere else. Same thing if you're in your house and you see a QR code on a flyer, but it's dark in your house, you don't have a lights on, no lamp, it's not going to scan it. And
I'm
just
sorry, how do you turn on the flashlight for that?
To turn on the
Thank you.
flashlight, if you, I don't know what type of phone you have, but if you swipe down on the top of your phone on the right-hand side, you will get it's called the notification center, or I mean, hold on, let me see if I have a picture.
Oh, I found it. Thank
Oh, you
you.
found it. Okay,
Yeah,
I was
thank
gonna say
you.
if you swipe down on your phone, you'll get something
Yeah,
that kind of looks like this.
right. That's exactly right. Thank you.
All right. Oops, I went too far. Okay. And then just lastly, right, practice patience. It is going to take a second for the link to appear, especially if you do have an older phone. Um, and all these tips matter. So if you're shaking your hands and the phone is not steady, if your camera's blurry, all of that is not, it's gonna take time for the code to scan. So, I mean, it shouldn't take 10 minutes, but give it like a minute or so for the link to appear. And if you do those tips, it should come. And then most importantly, I want to leave everyone here today with just safety tips, right? You're going to see, QR codes a lot all over places. It's been seeing QR codes like in bathrooms. People put stickers in the stalls and something. You don't want to just scan anything, especially from random places like a bathroom as an example, right? Because once again, when you scan a QR code, you're scanning information that leads you somewhere, and it could potentially lead you to a website that has a virus on it, or a website that is a scam, or a website that's trying to ask for money, or whatever in those cases. So when you do scan a QR code, make sure it's from a trusted source. So of course, a restaurant menu is fine, concert tickets and all of that, Amazon is fine, but I wouldn't recommend scanning, things that are just on a random bus stop, or you just see it when you're walking down the street, because you don't know where that QR code is going to lead you to. So only do it from familiar sources and websites that oh, I know this company, I will, scan this QR code. Because anything that we open up on our phone could lead to a virus. And it could, potentially get our information that's on our phone if we go to fishy websites. Any last information or questions that anybody wants to note? So this session has been recorded. So if anybody came here late today, we will put this on our website, on our YouTube page, RSS, Center for Ageless Living. And you can rewatch this if you weren't here in the beginning.